I will buy any junk boat for $100 show. No, just kidding. That's not the name of this show. But we did buy this Bayliner 2.1 with the Volvo Penta inboard outboard for $100 from one of our neighbors, I think just to get out of his way. And it's actually a really nice boat. This thing's gonna clean up amazing. We're gonna drag it back to the shop. Stay tuned for more. Safe and sound at 3301 Curtis and Chattanooga, where all the magic happens. We got this boat drugged back to our shop, and we're gonna get the airlines out and blow it all out and give it a good wash down and tinker with it and see what happens, man. Can we get this $100 boat to run? Can we actually use this boat this summer? And if so, what would the value be? Click in the comments below, type in, tell me what you think. Let's go. Okay, so we got the boat drugged back to our shop, and we just wanted to show you how nasty it is. The carburetor's open, so we're gonna stuff a rag on that so we don't get any debris down inside the carburetor. But we got this boat because it has carburetor issues, but it's just a single 2-barrel, you know, a small 2-barrel carburetor. I don't see it being that big of an issue. We already looked up online. You can buy one of these carburetors for $300 or $400, so we'll take and blow it all out, wash it down, get it presentable, and then start tinkering on the engine. Woo! Okay, 2 hours later, we got our boat all vacuumed out and just looking pretty good. Salvageable, might even be usable if we can get this thing running. So we're gonna take a lunch break and come back and get a few parts and pieces and go home, pressure wash it, put a battery in it, see, back it down to the boat ramp and the water, see if the trim and stuff like that works on it, and see if it'll start. I'm gonna call my wife and tell her we got a new toy. Hey baby, come up front. I need your help for a second. Okay, bye. Bye. Not good. Zippity zippity doo da da doo da doo da. Zippity zippity doo da da. Zippity doo da day.
Get this over here, John.
It was free.
I don't want to hear that shit.
It was free.
It's
It's free.
Why?
We're making a video, see if we can make it run so we can sell it.
I mean, how would you guys barter away from it?
None. None. Love you.
Why didn't you tell me you took the neighbor?
Oh, just one person. My wife is gonna love this boat. Connie, thank you for putting up with me. I do love you. Jeez. Someday I'm gonna make you a rich woman, Connie.
A few moments later.
Okay, so ignore my bald head. That's a little outside the normal, but we got a gas can. We have a fresh battery in there, and we just put the battery in to see what's working and what's not working. I bumped it over and it wanted to spin a bit, so we're gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of gas to the carb and see if it'll try to fire. We want to do this before we back into the water. I'm glad we put that over there, huh?
Yeah, there's some water.
Yeah. All right. Let me get a picture of this. You squirting a couple of those in there. Just a couple squirts right down the neck. Okay, that's good. Go ahead. Okay. It's trying to start, isn't it?
It wants to, yeah.
A couple more squirts. Okay, don't get gas everywhere. Wonder if we can. Okay. I think we may have put too much in there, don't you? And it won't start unless it's in neutral. Okay, so stand by. Okay, good morning everyone. Now I can be myself. I have my magic hat on, my persona, and today I identify as a welding mechanic. So here we go. We're gonna take this tube right here, put it in a fresh pot of gasoline, and then hopefully if we prime it, it'll start sucking through the fuel pump, through this hose, and maybe run. So we're gonna give it a few twirls and see what happens. My cameraman's got the spray of gasoline. We may have over gasolined it the first time because it started to kick like it wanted to start, so we'll see. Okay. What's coming out? Give it a little squirt, John. Just a little squirt. Good. Okay, so let's try doing something different. You're gonna hold this above here like that and seal it off. That's gonna be kind of like a choke. Okay, that's not working. So, yeah, maybe I open it up. Okay, now try squirting some in there when I have it opened up. Just a couple squirts. Good. All right. So we got nothing. I don't know if we got it flooded. We're probably gonna take and pull out the plugs next, give it a few rotations, let it air out. Let's see if the plugs are wet with fuel and go from there. One more crank, hold on. Okay, that's doing nothing but killing our battery. We'll be back. We have pulled the plug out of the head, right down there. It's plugged into the wire, and we're gonna hold it on a grounded surface while he turns it over to make sure it's getting spark or not. All right, unfortunately you can't see in the camera, but it is getting spark. So we will move on to the next thing by adding more fuel. Okay, we're gonna try it out. I'm gonna give it a couple more squirts, see if it wants to go. So I think what has to happen, you do the key, and I'll see if I can keep it running with gas. Go. this one's filled. All right, let's give it again. We are headed to Ace Hardware because we want to back this boat into the water and try to get it to run over a longer period of time. But we have a plug hole there that we have to find a pipe cap threaded plug for. So Ace Hardware, here we come. Welcome to my favorite store in the world, is Ace Hardware. Woo. They hide them back here somewhere. I think we're looking for a 3/8 plug. So from the outside looking in, that hole appeared to be 5/8 in diameter. So we were able to find at Ace Hardware a 1/2 inch one, which looks a little small, and then we found a 5/8 one plug. It looks a little big, so I'm gonna roll the dice and get both and see which one fits. We have fuel. The fuel pump's actually working, pumping fuel up to the carburetor, but there's no fuel going through the carburetor, so we're gonna order a rebuild kit for this carburetor. It's like 18 or 20 bucks. It's not a lot of money. So in the meantime, I thought what we'd do is we pull this carburetor apart, take it apart, and kind of see if there's any kind of like nastiness in the bowl, or see what's not working to get carburetor or to get gasoline up through there. So we'll remove the carburetor, take it apart, and find out if we something real simple. We could clean it and maybe clear it, and then maybe it'll work. We're gonna tear this carburetor apart and see if we can see any kind of something that's obvious about why it's not pumping fuel. It might be in the accelerator thing here. So we'll take this top plate here off. Maybe. Oh, looks like we have one more screw here. Okay. That'll make it easy for lining back up because there's an odd pattern there. Here's a gasket. The gasket doesn't look bad. Oh, look here. So we had no fuel into the float bowl here. That should be full of fuel, which means the needle valve in there is probably stuck. So that's our float. All right. You can tell there's been no fuel in there. So we're gonna take this here off, the accelerator pump, and see why no fuel is going to the bowl. That should completely be full of fuel right now. So we'll get a little wrench, or let's see if we can find the right socket. So the inlet line is off to the side, right? It's pumping plenty of fuel, it's just not putting any fuel to the carburetor. So we gotta see where the restriction is at. Let's see if we can get this apart without damaging the seal. There we go. This is the diaphragm. There's our problem, I bet you. The cracks in that diaphragm. It's just bad, right? That goes under the diaphragm. And look at all that junk in there. This has got to be, I'm gonna leave that on there. I'm gonna put this guy back on there. Where's he at? Maybe that'll just hold it so we don't lose that spring. But yeah, there's a bunch of junk in there. Looks like that is our needle valve area. Kind of hard to see. You can see the camera's in the way. Take the camera away. So there's a bunch of junk right down inside that hole there, which means I'm going to take this guy here off. I need a wrench for that. That is a screen that's pretty dirty. It's a filter, and then that ball in there is, it's loose, so I don't know. Okay, so we got our carburetor apart and found several things that were wrong with it. A bunch of junk in there. The needle valve for the float was stuck closed, so it wasn't allowing any fuel into the fuel bowl. So we have all that cleaned up. The diaphragm isn't looking really great. Pretty dry rotted. I soaked it in oil, hoping that it would get some dexterity out of it just for temporary until we can get our rebuild kit, and that diaphragm comes in the rebuild kit. So we're gonna leave the throttle cable off because this will not start if the throttle's open, because it's got a neutral safety switch of some kind. So when we're starting it, we could kind of like feather the throttle by hand and maybe keep it from like fouling out or flooding out, you know. So I'm gonna finish tightening these 4 bolts here. We're gonna put the gas back up into it, crank it, and see if we can get it idling. If we get it idling for a short period of time, we'll back it down the boat ramp and put it in the water and then tinker with it and see if we can get it running even better. Oh man, it's running if I keep choking it, so it's just not pulling enough fuel in, and I think it's got something to do with that diaphragm, because it should be pumping that fuel in there as it's running. So let's go again. Hopefully we don't backfire and catch on fire. Doesn't look like we'll be going water skiing today, but we made a lot of progress on this fun project throughout the weekend. We got it all cleaned up, got the interior pressure washed out, found just a couple spots that are soft in the floorboards that we could rip up and replace that plywood without too much problems. We got the needle valve unstuck for the float, and it wants to run if we keep it partially choked by covering the intake, the air intake, with a rag. So I think what we'll go ahead and do, since we already have a couple leaks by that diaphragm area, is go ahead and order that carburetor rebuild kit this week. And next weekend we're heading off to the frying pan tower. That's some footage you're not going to want to miss. So we'll go ahead and stop it here. This will be part one of our video until we get some more parts. We also need a throttle cable, or actually the shifter cable that shifts it from neutral to reverse to forward. That's broken half up here. We got to figure out how to get that panel off and replace that. But I think once we get this carburetor rebuilt and replace that thing, we could go at least cruise around in the creek for a while. Maybe get my jet ski down here in case something breaks. We could have a towboat back in, right? Without having to call somebody and pay a bunch of money for a towboat. And just rip it around, give it hell. Make sure we'll change the oil. And if we can get it mechanically sound, we can send this baby down the road and make a couple bucks and put it toward our next project. Thanks for watching.